What's going on, Bishop? What's going on, man? What's going on, Ayo? Yeah, man, this is a very nice topic to talk about because I'm out of the business of explaining politics to people who just don't want to participate in the process. No, I just don't do stupid shit like that no more. But it's very important that we start. Because look, if you don't participate, then that means that the system is perfect. Seeking my creator, what's going on? And like this is just another person in a long line of individuals who gave their life so that way you can have just a little bit of more choice and control over your destiny. Period. That's what this is about. And you can tell the people who have the most complaints about the actual political process are the actual people with no side pick. What's going on, favor? What's going on, gone? No side pick, no reading of the actual issues, no understanding of how things work. Every time you come to the conversation, you have to restart the conversation because they just don't keep up with things. What's going on, Doug? Like, like you have to give this personal press conference level of information about things that go on in their life. What's going around, Matthews? And it's like, bro, that's over with. If you don't want to participate, then don't participate. If you're in the middle, then you should not be attacking the left, especially with all the stuff that the right gets away with. That's all. Like, bro, like we don't have to keep going through this. But this person believed in America far more than America did. He just wanted America to actually follow their own rules, follow the things that they were promising others. That's what Martin Luther King was on, man. He was literally on that, trying to make these people follow their actual rules. And the enemy of the day, you know who it was? Southern Baptist conservative, mostly Southern, but they did have their problems all over the U.S. Yes, there would show levels of respect and deference when it came to freedom rides and all that kind of stuff. I remember this church that he was in. He went down south, and there was a whole bunch of your, real conservatives who surrounded this church. And Martin Luther King had to call the White House to get the White House to get the National Guard out there to make sure that everybody got out of that church safely. Real conservatives. Not saying these people here today are responsible for that, but you have to know the history of that stuff because it's the same attitude toward people. The same attitude. And I see this same attitude with, Maggle Luther King too. It's the same sort of attitude. Things have to be perfect before I get involved. I'm not going to be investing in anything unless it's 100% perfect. I'm not going to risk anything. Dude, these people were getting locked up. They were going to jail. They got water sprayed on them, dogs sicked on them, getting their ass beat to give you an opportunity to have a voice and a choice. And the most that people can do is just say, well, you know what? Both parties are the same. That's like saying the AFC and the NFC are the same. That's like saying that the East and the West are the same in basketball, or the AL and the NL are the same in baseball. Really ridiculous and stupid things that you hear from individuals who just simply don't want to take part in the process. Yes, progress is not a sexy thing. It's not. It's easier to talk about cats eating or relationship issues than to talk about progress. Because I'm telling you, once you got your economics together, your personal economics together, you're not really worried about what people think at that point. You're not really worried. And I think that we spend an inordinate amount of our time focusing on relationship issues and not focusing on the productivity piece. A lot of people, what's going on, Donovan? A lot of people don't want to focus on the productivity piece. because the productivity piece stopped all arguments from formulating. Once you got your personal finances in order, there's really a lot less things you can argue about. Because you really can't do nothing in this world to include take care of a family, to include separating from a bad system, to include moving out of your community and moving to better areas. Dude, you can't do none of that without economics. What's going on, son? What's going on, Roosevelt? You can't do none of that without economics. Your personal economics. Yes, very few people do win off of discussing the relationship topic. That is nothing compared to the individuals that's being stagnated over the topic, nothing compared to the individuals who have no experience with this actual market. And it's easy. It requires just zero investment. What's going on, Frankie? So before I go forward with the actual conversation and the questions that I want to ask, I'm gonna drop the link so that way some people can come up. Once we have sense, if you don't stay on topic, I'm just gonna kick you off the panel. That's how we do it around here. You have to go back to my grandfather's understanding of the civil rights movement. As you know, I'm from the Mississippi Delta. As you also know, we used to have clans marching through our neighborhoods and all that kind of stuff. And it's at some certain point that people had to stand up. People had to stand up, like, you know what? They lynching all these people, and like further down in the Delta, like near Jackson area. I had a lot of family who like moved from down in that area during like the 40s, 50s, and 60s, who moved up above, like, the area where I live at right now. And some of them, a lot of them went to Chicago, Detroit, St. Louis, and Milwaukee. And the ones who were doing even better than that moved all the way to the West Coast. But at the end of the day, these people had the personal finances together to move. Did they have bullshit level education? Yes. They grew up in the public schools in Mississippi just like everybody else. Yes. They were far behind just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. They had to rise to the occasion just like everybody else. And the South was pretty much set up. What's going on, Shea here? What's going on, Seeking My Creator? What's going on, Judgezilla? And those people, they still had to move. Some of them two and three times. Even though the system was set up at that point in time where you could stay at a job forever, a lot of those people still moved out of bad situations. That's when well, outside of the union movement, like a century before, like you've never seen black and white people kind of work together, organize together for a singular goal. You never really have seen that like that. But all that stuff can happen when you actually cooperate for a common goal. I'll tell you right now, I talk to people in rural America. Some of the stuff I tell them, yeah, that conservative shit goes away real quick when you figure out that you are just as big in trouble than you think the black community is. You may think that you're getting away with it. Like, nah, man, you're not getting away with not having government services in your area. But you got to understand that there was a lot of people who funded Martin Luther King's efforts. I mean, he ultimately paid the ultimate price for it, but there was a lot of people who wanted to see better things that were going on. There was a lot of organizing that was happening on the ground. A lot of it. But in my grandfather's generation, there was probably like a third of the people who wanted to see Martin Luther King actually succeed in what he was doing. A third. Even though it was mostly a national effort, and there was people in the South that who was involved. There's a lot of people who threw a lot of money in from the North. But my grandfather was like, look, these people didn't want to risk anything. They didn't want to be involved with the process. They didn't want to be responsible for anything. But the moment it succeeded, that's when everybody wanted to jump on the bandwagon. And it pissed people off to the point to where They didn't even want to be associated with the movement because of all the actual clout chasing that was going on as if they were part of the movement. They know full well that they were not a part of that movement like that. Because most of these clout chasers went straight into religion after that was over with. After the civil rights legislation was passed, most of these people went into religion, and they was getting paid by people to desocialize people from actually participating in the political process itself. This was happening by the so-called black church. This was happening by church individuals. It was a place of organizing. There was a place of straightening dudes out very early. Then all of a sudden, nobody wanted to participate in the process once they had the chance. Go on, Jay Charles. And the ultimate sacrifice of that dude led to the 70s of people investing in the wrong type of woman to have a family with. After this dude gave his life, so that way you can have a choice on something. Yes, it was stolen valor. Strong might be. These people in the 70s decided to invest in Goldie the Mac after dude died. They didn't pick up the ball where he left off at. The only thing was is just to show up every 2 years and organize on something. But these people wanted the benefits of organizing and the benefits of democracy without any participation. Imagine your father not coming home after getting assassinated over some nonsense, and the people who you gave a chance to, they're not even participating in the process itself. This is why I say 94 crime bill complainers, you better show me that you can actually participate in the voting process before we hear your complaints about democracy. If you can't participate in the process, then you need to shut the fuck up about the process. How hard is that? I guarantee you, if you look at your ballot and you read the actual ballot initiatives, even if you don't vote for anybody, there are things that are at stake. There are things that don't have your name on it. There are things that are happening that you just let happen, and there ain't nothing that goes on with it. You don't get much out of non-participation, man. You do not get much out of that. What's wrong, Derek McKinney? You do not get much out of that. And we invested in the wrong type of man. Built families around the wrong type of man. Centered our music around the wrong type of man. I'm sure you've seen some of these disrespectful posters of Martin Luther King and with gold teeth in his mouth, afro or cornrows, with a couple of reptiles under his arm. I'm pretty sure you've seen those type of disrespectful posters, man. Bro, you go to other people's communities, man, they do not have their actual leaders being disrespected like that, dude. They don't have that type of stuff going on. You don't have it. What you guys have got to recognize is that this wrong type of individual have been playing for the other team the entire time, man. Playing for the other team the entire time. I never said anything like that, Janadrian Bertrand. I've never said that. Yeah, I've never said that. No, you got to be able to grow up, man. There are things that are going on in these actual states that you actually need to have your voice on. But that's where we at, though. That is where we're at, and it's like, dude, this stuff is too easy to participate in. You literally have to dodge participation nowadays, man. What's going on, David Deacon Little? And the thing is, it's like everybody can learn from this story. I thank this dude for his actual real sacrifice because we know now if you try to do everything with just black people, that shit ain't gonna work. If you try to do everything with just black people, given how these people act in this environment here, that shit ain't gonna work. That's what the content of the character shit was all about. That you're was not going to be maligned thanks to your race. Your ass was going to have them skills. You was going to move to a different area. You was going to get an equal shot at this equal opportunity. You was going to get an equal shot at this American dream as long as you skilled up and stayed current with what the actual marketplace actually needed. You was going to be straight. You were going to be straight. And yet that dude had a bunch of coalition of people working with him. No one ever talks about that. You think that dude got the bus everywhere and fly all over the country and do all these speeches? You think he did that for the free? You think he had a nonprofit organization set up that was bringing in all this money to do that? Yeah, that was bringing in some money, but there was a lot of outside money that helped him do this. That's what I'm saying. Now you have the other MLK, the Maggle Luther Kang. He took all the gains of that environment and just flushed them down the toilet for his own benefit. For his own benefit. And these are the people who have the nerve to want to be the voice for me out here. Nah, man, you don't get to represent nothing to do with me. You've already had your chance. You've already had your voice. Look at the outcomes. And these individuals are trying to socialize the kids and giving up their chances and choices to focus on them first. What's going on, Doc Phoenix? No, man, you don't focus on broken men first. It is easier to deal with children than broken men. Didn't Douglas say that? Didn't Douglas say that? A lot of these people have chose to be in this area in this place. I don't think these people are maximizing what they can do with their chance and opportunity. Because a lot of this stuff, you could have benefited from this stuff if you started 10, 15 years ago. But guess what happened if you didn't start 10 or 15 years ago? That means that you got to be able to get your ass in gear. But that's what it is. No, the thing is, like, so it's that you don't want to do the research. You want people to, you know, uh, give you a personal press conference because you're too stupid to fucking read. And you want to outsource that shit to everybody else who actually have a side taken while you just sit in the middle and not do shit. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At this point in time, this stuff is on you. You want these people to represent you? I don't want these people representing me. So what was the use of all that dialogue if you actually knew that? Back to the topic. So what I'm saying is easily this, man. These people do not represent us. They represent the broken community that they're trying to save. That's the problem here. What's going on, Topaz? Thanks for the follow. Super chat, great message, MOT. Yeah. It's time to start raising the level of the conversation around these pieces and start getting these people up out of here. I want you to talk about women. If your life ain't going nowhere, I want you to talk about women or pop culture. That's what I want to put your ass in that corner. So that way you can just talk about this red pill nonsense, pop culture, or women that you don't have access to. And they go, don't worry about it, man. I got him up out of here. As soon as he said Google is your friend and he asking all these dumbass questions, that's when you just stop focusing on people like that. Get them out of here. They don't belong here. But you guys have got to recognize that a lot of things have went on with this government without your knowledge, without you actually understanding the actual process itself. There's nothing wrong with being on the right. There is nothing wrong at all. But guess what? You need to be able to lobby for things while your ass is over there. This ain't really that difficult and hard. Like, dude, we've been saying this shit for like the past 4 years. There's really no need to talk to people who want to start the conversation over or take pot shots on the left or the right. Listen, just reconcile with the history. Know that the history is messed up. Know where you're gonna get started, and just know you ain't gonna tolerate the stuff going forward. How hard is that? What's going on, Question the Prince? Nah, we don't waste time on people like that no more, man. That's why they in here behind these brand new, fresh, brand new booty ass fucking names, man, with no subscribers, so they can come here and be on some whole shit. Like, man, ain't nobody got time for that. But you guys have got to recognize, man. I don't want to hear nobody complaining about economics piece, and the only thing you do is talk about women online, bro. You've already divested from the economics piece. You just want to be special because you are a man. That doesn't get you what you used to get. You got to get out here and work for shit nowadays. Things ain't automatic no more. You got to come out here and work for stuff now. You got to be able to come out here and produce. And I'm not talking about bullshit attention either. I'm talking about actually producing some substance. Because I'm lobbying for the exact type of people that I want around me. What's wrong, JD Orca? But that's where we're at, man. Bro, we've invested too much into this Maggle Luther King, man. We invested too much in that. We invested too much in it. Too much. Too much to the point now where we even barely recognizable from the fighting force that we used to be 50 years ago. How hungry that we used to be for having an opportunity to have a chance at the actual process 50 years ago. With just a shadow of where we was 50 years ago. But you can still correct this stuff. Dude, you can correct this stuff even now faster than you ever could. The legacy was for him, Martin Luther King is letting your ass know that look, now you can be able to participate in the process. Now you can be able to move around and do things. You couldn't do that stuff back in the 60s. You were landlocked. You were neighborhood locked. You ain't got that excuse anymore. You really don't. When he started organizing those unions, that's when they came for him. You're correct, sir. Because once you start helping people get to the money as a group, because it just would have started with the sanitation workers, then it would have been unions all over the place. You are correct about that, Charles Cole. But he was unionizing in places where you wasn't supposed to be unionizing, which was the South. Yeah, he was doing stuff in the Midwest and all that type of stuff, but unions, people actually having workers' rights, that was a new idea for people in the South. a new idea. Every time they came up with any type of union, they destroyed it. Hell, most companies move their actual factories to another state or even country for having people unionized down there. They didn't want those people having any type of rights whatsoever. That's another thing, man. I don't believe in that. I believe in pray to God, but swim the shore. Sometimes that shoreline very close to you is all your ass need. You can't be praying for no big ass boat to come get you out of that water that you in. Like, look, man, you better move out of that area before that water gets too high, and now your ass is really underwater. But most importantly, and I mean most importantly at this point, hold on a second. Come on. Yeah, but that's where we at this point. At this point, it doesn't even matter about the people who are losing. They're meant to lose. They're meant to lose at this point. You gotta let them lose. You gotta let them go. The best thing you can do is not have this conversation again with people who don't get it. That's the best thing you can do. Say it again. Say it again. The conservative Supreme Court is very, very, very accurate on what they believe. They're anti worker, they're pro corporation, they're pro police, and they pro expanding religious liberty only for their specific religion, and they don't really care about anybody else. And that's been the same thing throughout history. And also taking rights away. That's what I'm saying, Roger Spice. Get your own stuff together first. That's what the content of the character piece is about. You see, a lot of these people wanted the racial piece to be they end all and be all. That you could just show up, be a black dude, huff and puff, and all this kind of stuff, and that's how it worked. Yes, they are pro-authoritarian. Most of the time, when the expansion of police liberty, it all came from a conservative Supreme Court. Also, the expand of gun rights, which I think is a training issue. It's a training issue. I don't think you need that many laws for it, but at the end of the day, you got to be trained on the actual equipment that you carry. That it just can't be that hard. It's called Ryle. Sure does. Well, Roger Spice, they're gonna have to because none of these people are producing. You got half the people in it's not just South Carolina that's like this. It's like most of the South like this. Most of the South is for the working class adults that don't even want to participate in the actual productivity piece, but they still on welfare anyway. What's going on, LaRock? That's what I'm saying right now. You got to be able to move out of these communities and start getting yourself a piece of this money, getting yourself a CDL or a nurse's license or HVAC certification. All of those things don't take but a month to 3 weeks, up to 2 years for the HVAC thing. Dude, it's time to get paid, man. There ain't no way or no reason you could be stuck in a low wage job right now. The worst thing you could do is not live up to your potential when there's too many ways to get out of these situations. Look, They can have all the universal basic income they want to. I want to own all the land around these people. I want to own all the stores around these people. I want to own all the actual Amazon routes around these people, FedEx routes around these people, all that stuff. Say it again. We talk about basic skills. What's going on, Erica? We talk about basic skills. If you want to be a traveling nurse, you're gonna make mega bank. Mega bank. But you got to be in that position to move. You can't have your life messed up all around the place and you can't move to the money. Listen, you're gonna have to move to the money. You're not holding down that small town. You're not doing that. You got to be in a position to where you can make the most amount of money that you possibly can and save all of it before you give it away over some nonsense. That's what I'm saying, man. Go out there and go get it. This guy right here, 5 years in, doing very well. Very well for himself. Very well for himself. Man, look, you got to be out of your mind. Dude, I could have easily stayed in Mississippi. I could have easily took my ass down there and stayed down there. I had all the preset excuses ready for me down there. I had all the preset excuses. No, I'm not going down there. No, that's a choice to stay down there. Oh no. Oh no. I'm not doing anything like that. This is what this chance was about, man. The content of the character, the situations and circumstances that you put yourself in based on your effort, not your race. Based on your effort and your participation, not your race. This is why it makes very little sense complaining about immigrants. You really thought that they was going to hold that artificial bottom for you here when corporate America got things that they need solved? I'm not talking about HB1 visa people. I'm talking about everybody else that you expect not to come here so that way you can protect your artificial bottom. Bro, you are crazy if you're trying to look for UBI to save your ass. That's crazy. And yes, there's going to be some people who don't want to try, but they ain't got to be you. That ain't got to be you. Listen, the best peace of mind you could ever get is sometime a 1 bedroom apartment in a bad area of town, 6 or 7 floors up, while you working on a job and on a career to get to better money. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like if these dudes just made slight progress, their life would be turned around in a year. 1 year. 1 year. Yes. This is the chance that you've been given by one person who wanted to make sure that you had a positive outlook on life. And he gave his entire life for it. Now I understand that I didn't know that how many people had this much hatred and vitriol for Martin Luther King. Like we're talking about people in my own family. And it was the same type of people who had this hatred and vitriol for Martin Luther King. It was normally the Maggle class of people. What's going on, Terrence B? It was normally the Maggle class of people. They wanted MLK to get the whole job done to clear the entire area so that way they can have a better time. When they had parents that already did that for them. They wanted to outhorse the whole show to Martin Luther King. While they asked no questions at all from Maggle Luther King. They never asked that guy no questions. They let him run up the score. They let him sell drugs. They let him damage the women. They let him raise all type of boys. They let him try to come back in here and re-damage the boys and promise women stuff. Yes. Nobody ever questioned Maggle Luther King. Nobody ever questions that. That too. That too. I had a couple uncles, who was trying to give me that spiel about why it all came down to, oh, they're just trying to make it better for the interracial relationship people. Like, what are you talking about? These rights affect everybody. And they always would try to malign those people based on who they were dating. I say this. You got this perfect group of people that you want me to have access to, you better start providing me some options. Other than that, I'm going to think you crazy and I'm going to have to move along with choosing the best option that I possibly could. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Go in there and pay it with cash. That's what I'm saying, Erica. Like, that's why I'm going back to the South to create exactly that. I'm going back to down South to create exactly that. So what? I'll call it the black church. I don't care. If you can get these people socialized into the trades at a very young age, regardless of whether they graduate from school or not, you damn right. We'll turn this thing around in 5 years. Yep, that's what it was. They didn't want them rocking the boat. They didn't want them doing that. But they think complaint without action is brainstorming. Like that's what they actually think. Complaint without action is brainstorming. Complaints with no plan, brainstorming. 8 9 hours on nonsense, brainstorming. What are you talking about? Like, bro, like, what's the storm about? You got to get to the money, bro. All of these jobs that you think is low value can be scaled up easily into a 1099 situation. Oh yeah, oh yeah, very late. Got a question here. How would you feel about everyone who isn't Native American tribal heritage leaving USA and the natives setting the rules for America? I don't think that's happening. You got to be very specific about what you're talking about because that's not the case. Native Americans have their own land. Most of it they're not doing anything with outside of Oklahoma. Yes, there's a lot of building that's going along that 44 corridor from the Native Americans. A lot of it. But I'm not really worried about those other groups of people. I'm just worried about the stuff you can be doing. Yes, this is before people start getting off into the actual container home thing. Erica, like people have no idea that the government will pay you 3 or 4 grand a month for putting these homeless veterans into container homes. 3 or 4 grand a month forever for spending less than $20,000 retrofitting a 40-foot container. You really think I'm not gonna go get that money? You must be out of your mind. Why you think I drive all the time? So that way I can have access to rural America where they gonna pay for this stuff. And then just walk in, cash carry, buy up all the land. Walk in, lay down infrastructure because it's easy to do so. Go get these containers, super easy to do so. Put this stuff down. Dude, this stuff is too set up for people to succeed. You got to stop thinking that, well, immigrants are coming over here and they take better advantage of the things that are happening within my country than I am. Then hell yeah, you should learn from them. You should learn from them. You got to stop trying to live like an undocumented immigrant in a country where you got choice. They don't have a choice when they come here. They have to build their choice over time. And if they don't build their choice in a certain specific period of time, they sitting on somebody's couch or in somebody's bunk bed somewhere working as a sous chef for the rest of their life. Yep. Just wait till a lot of these baby boomers start needing their long-term care facilities and all that kind of stuff. Yes, it's a lot of money that's going to be getting paid and going out the window for that type of stuff. A lot of it. A lot of it. But a lot of these people don't understand that you've been given an enormous opportunity. A lot of people went through a lot of hell giving you enormous opportunity that a lot of these people are not actually taking advantage of. That's correct. That's always been the case. A lot of people came in here that, oh yeah, well I'm just a baby making class of the black community. Oh, productivity. Oh no, not for me. That's for other people. I'm here to just make babies and walk away from them. Listen, man, this stuff is going on in all communities, not just black. I tell you right now, you go to these small towns in rural America, they look no different than the black community. It's not covered like that, but it look just the same. But you guys have got to realize that. Oh, hold on a second. I thought I dropped the link before. Hold on a second. Mm-mm. Because the moment you start talking like this, people come in with their actual excuses of how come they're not getting started. Oh no, you got to get started right away. Pick a direction, get your money together, and go. Your money ain't gonna do nothing but grow once you keep your ears to the actual things that you need to be invested in, not going out here trying to invest in cars and trying to increase the um, trying to make the parking lot hot with your actual gains when you should be saving your money and doing other things with it. He did it for the free. He did it for the free. You right about that. It made me mad as hell seeing my aunts taking care of these badass kids on their deathbed or near their deathbed. Made me mad as hell. But that's what you got to do. You got to be able to get your stuff together and leave these problematic people alone. These people don't have any sort of control like they used to have. They don't have the level of control that they used to have. The only thing they can do is try to come at you with some soft self-esteem nonsense. But that's where we at though. Mike, the link is dropped. Unless the chat went back fast enough that I didn't drop it. No, it's in there. It's in there. I'm telling you, man. A lot of people trying to stunt their way to attention level success, man. It doesn't make any sense. But in 2023, you got to lead these people alone. You got to lead them up to it. You got to lead them to it. You got to lead them to it. You see, the thing is that a lot of these people think that they're just gonna do bad, and it's gonna embarrass you to the point to where you get off your ass and stop doing everything that you're doing and correct their issues for them. No, that's not how that works. You keep letting them suffer the consequences, and you keep moving forward. That's why you was given this actual chance. You was given this chance so that way you wouldn't end up like a Maggle. There's just no way you should be ending up like a Maggle, dressing like a 90s rapper and going live 50, 11 times a day, trying to shake bucks out of these people's pockets, man. How do you end up buck dancing like that, man? Like I don't get it. Roosevelt, thank you for the follow super chat. I want to see if you've been instrumental in providing insight and value for productivity. What source would you recommend to get more productive info? On what level? The only thing you have to do is separate from these problematic people and get your stuff together. Like you're already on a good path, man. Like I think you're good. I think you're good where you at. I think you're really good at where you at, man. I think you're good with where you at. In the trajectory that you're going, and you're a young ass dude, yeah, man. You're gonna be leaving behind adults who are 30 and 40 years old on the trajectory specifically that you're on. Of course, you're gonna be leaving all these people behind, and of course, you're gonna be thinking that you're not doing enough because you ain't there yet. Like, dude, you're on a good path right now. Just research everything on the path that you're currently on. I think you're still in a good area. Now, I'm almost done with it. I'm almost done with it. I'm almost done with it. But that is where we at, folks. You guys have got to understand that trying to invest in this relationship conversation is going nowhere in 2023. Going nowhere. If you can't produce for these women, why are you talking about them? Why are you talking to them? If you don't have the ability to change these actual circumstances with any type of plan, how are you spending all this time talking about it? Don't outsource this change piece. Don't outsource this change piece. Don't outsource it. It's way too important to outsource. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, what's going on, bro?
Oh, chilling out, man. What's going on?
Chill, man. Nah, I just came up here, man. I figured, you know, what I find interesting is that, you know, the dating conversations and stuff that you're referring to, it's a deflection from progress.
It is.
That they
It
don't
is.
have to actually engage in how this actually works from A to Z, from soup to nuts. And so to talk about it is to only deflect from it. And you see, you hear a lot of it always geared at reparations, cut the check and stuff like that, mostly because they don't have an answer for themselves, for their audience. And so their answer is just cut the check or talk more about non-essential things that don't really lead to any outcomes at all. And it's a shame that in 2023, this is still going on.
Yeah, but don't they understand that these government programs is a version of cut the check? Don't they understand that this stuff is a version of reparations? You want the system changed and fixed so that way it can be more equal, so that way the government can invest in you, right? That's what these government programs are for.
Yeah.
But they want some whopping like Powerball big ass check to be signed over to them. Like, what are you doing,
Well,
man? You're wasting a lot of time.
some of these guys, man, you know, something as basic as applying to school, right? If you're an adult, and let's say you live with your grandmother or your aunt or something like that, when you want to apply for student loans or financing and stuff like that, they'll just go based on the household income. So there's nothing wrong with applying for it and then getting those Pell grants and getting those scholarships and stuff like that based on the situation that you're in.
Dude, listen, dude, I probably mentored like 50 people in the last at least 5 or 6 years. Being that kind of domesticated person in that household, not really socialized into the productivity piece until I tell them to get out of there, go get their CDL, and go work somewhere else, go get a forklift certification or something else. How quickly those guys output and life turn around the moment they got their own money to separate. And then once they do separate, they figure out all the time that they was wasting just surviving within that actual circumstance. And these people just, I mean, they to the moon. They're to the moon. Once they get out of that circumstances, they have enough room to actually think about their actual next move rather than going from this place to that place to that place. Yeah, them people are great.
Yeah, you got Job Corps, you got AmeriCorps, you got Peace Corps.
Yeah.
All of these are government sponsored programs. So Well, I don't like big government. Oh, really?
But you want big government to cut that big check for you. All right, man. All right, help me, help me understand it, man. Sean H, what's going on? Yeah, yeah, my notification hasn't been going out, so that's what it is. I go live and like the first 5 minutes, nobody's in here. That's
Yeah,
what it is. So
the algorithm is working against you. If you put it on your community tab, I think it goes out a little bit faster. But
yeah,
I mean, I agree with you on this. I just think that guys are just making excuses, man. I'll never, support big government. I'm all about small government. Really? Have you been to these rural areas and see how small government worked out for them?
man, look, man, look, man, look. Spiceland, Indiana, small government is not working real well.
Yeah,
Terre Haute, Indiana, small government ain't working real well for them people either. Man, let me tell you, bro, you want to be in a place that has a lot of investment where you can walk in and take advantage of the job opportunities there. You want that investment. You want that good infrastructure. Let me tell you, you don't want to be in a place where if your car break down, you got to go to the next town over to get it fixed, and now how you gonna get to work? Nah, man, you don't want to be in that. You don't want to be in that. I suggest live very close to one of these liberal cities and take advantage the hell out of the actual opportunities that are there for people to actually move up. You see, people want to live in these liberal areas, but they don't want to take advantage of all the things that are there in these areas. That's the reason why they're population centers. You can easily get your stuff together, but a lot of people are like, hey, well, you know what? I'm just gonna live here. And I'm just gonna get it how I live. Like, all right, man. Okay, okay. It's just crazy how we allow these people to monopolize the conversation, to monopolize the music, to monopolize the movie industry around our image. And they always want to drag our image back to some gangster revolutionary story. Like, come on, dude. We could do more than gangster shit and slave stories, man. I'm sick of that. Sick of it.
yeah. No, I just put in the public chat job training program called Strive. They do exactly everything that you need to do. I think it's geared more towards black men, but it's for
Yeah.
everyone. The thing here is there are programs out there, but guys just don't want to take advantage of it. They just want somebody to do all the heavy lifting for them, and then they get all the credit for it. And it's like, no, people are going to get tired of you. They're just going to cut you loose, and they're just going to walk away and just leave you high and dry. And if you say, "Oh, I'm just going to stay home. I ain't never voting for Dems," okay, well, you know what? When they do the tally on the votes post mortem, and they start to see who voted in this area and who voted in this district, and they start to see that, hey, a considerable amount of these manosphere type of guys, man, they don't vote. Well, what's the point in giving them any resources, any opportunities, pathways to success?
Yeah, but they act like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna take these hostages and then they're gonna do what I want. I'm like, no, you're gonna take those hostages and then they're not coming to rescue any of you. That's how that works, man. Like, no, man. Like, listen, uh, they're gonna get to choose whether they say these hostages or not. And if you make your idea that you take hostages and that's how you get down, you're only gonna do that one or two times, and they're gonna move on to other people. Yeah, what's going on, Renaissance man? What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up? What's up, Gunner? What's up, Mike? What's up, MOT?
What's going
Nah,
on?
I wanted to quickly come up. Now, the thing that always stands out to me on these holidays is just really, like you said, I think you hit on it earlier, MOT, about really how much people had to sacrifice to get to where we are,
Yes.
and how many people are not taking advantage of the opportunities. I hate to say a lot of black men, how many of black men are caught up in just self-destructive behavior, unproductive behavior, and it's like, you're squandering people's sacrifice essentially,
Yes, indeed.
which is
Yeah.
very problematic to me because I mean my grandfather was involved in the elements of the civil rights movement. So I mean I know, like, hey, people having death threats against their life just to register to vote, or even attempt to go down the courthouse and say you want to vote. Like, so that's frustrating when you hear guys talk about they don't want to do this, they don't want to participate in this process. I'm like, listen, dude. Like, if the people before you had your mentality, do you know how bad this situation we'd be in, or how much worse it would be? because it's just like I think it was Mike saying like people think complaining is basically a brainstorming session for action.
Especially
So
when you did it like over and over and over and over and over again. Rage machine. I use Job Corps as a catalyst into being productive. Got my GED, graduated at the top of my auto tech class. See, man, that's what I'm talking about, man.
yep.
That's what I'm talking about. Getting your stuff together, and you're in a great career field. I suggest you learn as much as you can before you separate from them and be in a nice 1099 situation where you can make $1,300-$1,400 before lunchtime and you'd be done for the rest of the day. You
Yeah.
can work easily toward that. Easily toward that. Being like a technician that comes out to people's houses and fix on their stuff, trust me, them people get paid a lot of money to do that. People
Or if
get
you or
paid
if you
$1,500-$1,600 a day to do tires. So actual repair work, come on, man. Yeah, dude, you're gonna be
or
all right.
if you can shift in and get in one of these higher end companies like a Mercedes or a Jaguar, BMW, something like that, those people make good money because you have to have specialized techs to work on a lot of their stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to discourage people, but Lamborghini and Ferrari are like that.
Yep.
Something wrong with their cars, they have to send a team out,
Yep.
and you're gonna pay top dollar for that team. Trust me.
Yep. Yep. No, that's a prime example of what I'm talking about. And then the thing is, when you have people who get in that situation for the first time, just like you said, MOT, the independence that you discover, that hey, you can pretty much control your own destiny. Once you have your own cash flow, you can decide who you want to deal with, who you don't want to deal with, where you want to
Yes,
live,
indeed.
where you don't want to live. It's just liberating. That's really what the power of money is. So many of us get caught up in the power of using it to, like I said, impress people, show off for Instagram, show off for the parking lot. It's really so you basically can have complete control over your time, who you deal with, who you don't deal with, what you have to do, what you don't have to do. That's what really people who got money understand.
Or even show off for the manosphere. You got look at the background. Look at the background of some of these content creators. All of these names and highlights and shit like that, and these sort of different LEDs going off in the background. Like, yo, what's going on here, man? What are we talking about here?
Disco balls and all these graphics. Like, what the?
Yeah,
I didn't know all this shit need to be dressed up like this. Like, what are you doing, man?
it's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable how much money they spend to create content that produces no results at all.
None.
What's going on, Dr. Phoenix?
Dr. Phoenix, what's going on, man? That's coming through.
No, not much, man. I got a little bit of time on my hands today. Glad to hear you guys talking about this. Really quickly to your previous comments about, the brother that was doing the auto tech. I've been kind of going back and forth between Atlanta, Georgia, and Wisconsin now for about the past year. And I can tell you right now, I met a brother who was actually a tech for Porsche. Because if anyone doesn't know, Porsche corporate headquarters is in Atlanta, Georgia. And they were they've been hiring like crazy for techs because they actually have a shortage of them. So, you guys are talking about Ferrari and Lamborghini. Also, Mercedes corporate is here in Atlanta as well.
Yeah,
they've been hiring as well, yeah, hiring like crazy as well. So, but earlier you was talking about going through these rural areas and how people don't really understand how really just isolated folks are. I've gone through rural Georgia over the past year or so, and I've been to places like Vandalia. People never even heard of it, but you probably might have heard of something called a Vandalia onion, which is where the name comes from. And like most rural places, it's not just Georgia, but in general in America, most rural places, you have folks that are 40 minutes to almost an hour away from a medical center. And you're seeing a lot of folks, even in the cities, where a lot of hospitals are closing in major cities. And like in Atlanta, you have a major hospital closing that's going on. But right in downtown, you have the Wellstar Medical Center that's closing, which is in downtown Atlanta. And basically, you have folks that are going to be about 20, 30 minutes away. And I don't think folks really put it together. So if you're someone having a heart attack, for example, everyone talked about what happened with the gentleman that was in the NFL game a couple weeks back. And people don't, there's a lot of crazy stuff behind that. But the point is that when you have a heart attack, every minute you go without getting CPR, without getting defibrillation, you're looking at roughly about a 10% decrease in survival rate. So by the time you're 5 minutes in, you're roughly down to roughly about a 20% survival rate. But the point is, for folks who live in rural areas, if they have a medical emergency, they're going to most likely die in transport, because there's only
Correct.
really one way to get to a major. Usually the nearest hospital is usually either level 1 or level 2. So usually they have to be airlifted if it's a truly an emergency. But if they have to rely on ground transportation, they're most likely going to die in transport. And you're seeing this happening not just in the rural areas, but also in many cities where the distance between someone's home and a medical center is pretty far. And so a lot of folks don't understand this is happening. This is really common more in the southern states, from what I've seen. And yeah, I think it's really interesting. But then on the other hand, there's something that bothers me about MLK Day. Lots of folks like to do this revisionist history, and I see this a lot with pro-blacks, where Martin Luther King has never really been a well-liked figure among pro-black circles, and
Oh no.
really among rank and file Black America in general. When people talk about men of that era who did what Martin Luther King did, he's more often than not omitted from that conversation, and you see people focus on folks like Malcolm X. Why is that? Because one, Martin Luther King was a formally educated, upper middle class man versus Malcolm X, who was a street guy. And you see that reverence for Malcolm X, but you've never ever really seen that reverence from MLK. And I would argue MLK got more done than Malcolm X, but you know.
He did. He did because he was directly interfacing with the people. But you need a Malcolm X so that way you can have an either or type of situation. Like, hey man, you can deal with me or you can deal with that X dude. Oh, no, we'll deal with you. But like a lot of those people tried to make it look like a foil as to they tried to take it all into these directions that it didn't need to be taken in. It's like, look, this whole thing was about participating in the system and creating better family outcomes before these people came through and kind of stolen valor the entire thing and took it into a direction that it really didn't need to go in.
And the thing here is, it seems like every generation there's a avatar for them to grasp onto, whether it's Malcolm X, Ice Cube, and now today it's what's his face from Atlanta, Killer Mike.
Oh my God, Killer Mike.
I'm gonna be honest with you about Atlanta. I've spent enough time here in Atlanta to tell you that Black America in Atlanta is done. They're finished. You can't. First of all, you really don't see any Black folks if you go anything north of Midtown on the 75 or the 400. You're really not seeing any Black folks, because that's where where your money is at in Atlanta. It's all in North Atlanta. And so then you consider the fact that you have some Black folks with businesses, but it's not really anything going on. If you just drive along the 75 through Atlanta, you see nothing but construction going on from as far north as Alpharetta all the way down into Midtown and downtown Atlanta. And so again, there's not really a whole lot going. But one thing really quickly, since Miss Shonda is in the chat,
Yeah.
her and I was on TPOT well over a year ago, and we did a stream where she did a PowerPoint presentation talking about brothers getting into nursing, and her and I talked about brothers going into medicine and medical research and all that stuff. But it was interesting because that video really didn't get a lot of views, and it wouldn't be the first time that I've talked about this, because Mike B and I have done this a few times over at the Black Brain Trust, at least 2 years ago. And so again, these things never get any traction, but the point is, Negroes like to do this revisionist history and act like no one ever talked about this, or you get a few pro-blacks out here who get on panels and talk about these things, then all of a sudden it's new knowledge. And to me, it's just a waste of time in most cases. So
I mean, but they're pro-black dysfunction. They're not pro-black functional society. Well, let me get you this comment by Romello747. That Gemini Eye. Indiana is wide open. 40% farmland is being sold by the aging population. You are correct. I just bought some land near Fremont and some near Fort Wayne. You are correct. Farmland out there is super cheap. These people don't want to work the land at all. You got the Latinos out there. You got the Asians out there. Hell, you even got Arabs out there doing farming now. I'm telling you, Indiana's wide open, man, because some people are not taking advantage of the things they're supposed to be taking advantage of within that state. Go ahead.
You know, something really interesting that was brought to my attention, and I actually noticed it, was there were a lot of black women who were truckers who do YouTube video, who have
Yes.
YouTube channels, and it wasn't just black women; it was a bunch of other groups of folks, but far more than black men, which is I thought was pretty interesting. You know, outside of you and a couple other brothers that I know of, you know, I don't really know of any lot of. It was probably about twice as many black women doing having channels talking about trucking, which I thought was quite interesting.
I mean, them thirsty ass dude had. They didn't care about the women doing. They just wanted to look at black women. And if you see what they be doing on some of these video channels, man, you be like, come on, man, come on.
No,
And they end up getting their
I
channels
just thought.
monetized, hundreds of thousands of views. Next thing you know, she's retiring and not even driving a truck because of these thirsty ass dudes. And next thing you know, the outfits change and I'll be like, come on, man. Come on.
No, I just thought it was an interesting dichotomy because it was.
Yeah.
I noticed this over the last couple of years, and it was, yeah, I thought it was just pretty interesting to see so many black females come on as truckers talking about the trucking industry, and then yeah, I thought it was interesting. So
Hey, MOT, I'm trying to share my screen.
Okay. There we go.
I don't know if you guys can see my screen yet.
Yeah, we can now. Yeah.
Zoom in a little bit. Yeah, Meharry Medical College hosts summit for young black men to explore healthcare professions. Young black men interested in pursuing professions in healthcare will spend a day immersed in the field at Navigating the Pre-Health Path, a summit for young black men hosted by Meharry College on October 1st. So this is only a few months ago.
you know, shout out to Shonda H. You know, shout out to her because in that stream that her and I did over at TPOT, I actually gave TPOT a copy of an email that was sent to me by my one of my mentors who had got contacted by someone he knew who talked about a program in Meharry through the Tennessee State University where they would pay for both your undergrad and medical school. So basically, you get to go through undergrad, only do 3 years for undergrad. So they cut it down from 4 to 3, and they will also pay for you to go to medical school. And you know, he didn't know anyone that could sign up for it. I haven't been able to find anyone. In fact, I think in over the last few years of all the young folks I've come across, I have not been able to get one person to truly commit to this. Because I think part of the problem that goes on in Black America is that there's this idea that you're going to get some quick money and you don't have to have no investment, you don't have to put any skin in the game, you don't have to do nothing. People are just going to hand you a 6-figure job on a silver platter, and you're going to be able to buy you an AMG one day. That's what goes on.
Yeah. I mean, but you have to understand, Fingers, bro. There was nothing like this for us 20, 30
No,
years
there
ago.
wasn't.
There was
I
jack
had to
shit
go
for
through the
us like this.
military. I went through the military,
There
and I
was
was like,
nothing like this for us.
there was
Oh man, it's
nothing even close to. You couldn't even look 5 years ago and find anything close to this.
No.
I mean, when I went through undergrad, they didn't have no programs like this. If I wasn't a military medic, that gave me a bit of an advantage. But yeah, I had to go through the military. And so again, this was to be able to get this, and you don't even have to spend years of your life in the military, getting potentially deployed to some, combat zone, whatever,
yeah,
to be able to just you come in at 17, 18 years old and get into programs like this, and folks are willing to just throw buku amounts of money at you, because I don't think folks really realize how much it costs to go to medical school this day and age. This is insane. I mean, things like this didn't even exist 3 or 4 years ago, man.
no,
Well,
not. I'm telling you, not even 2 years ago. and every year it's getting more and more closer for people to get actually there. Strong complex design.
Yeah,
Uh, I go ahead, Mike. Go ahead,
no, I was just gonna say, and people will come on here and say, all the opportunities are going, there's no opportunities for black men. Somehow, we have a 15-point agenda. And I'm like, I don't know, bro. There's a lot of opportunities out here.
Mike.
What
Yeah,
15
Mike, but
point agenda?
yeah, Mike, but black boys can't read. Black boys read on the third grade level.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I I'll be honest with you. I've seen some really disturbing things when it comes to that. You know, the fundamental issue is that you truly cannot have this level of systemic dysfunction in Black America. You can't have damn near 70% of your Black boys being functionally illiterate, and you not have complicity in the population. In other words, Black people are very complicit in what's happening to Black boys. You wouldn't have so many Black boys being unable to read. And more importantly, you can't get to being 16, 17, 18 years of age not knowing how to read, and your parents and the parents claim that, oh, I didn't know my kid did not know how to read. How the hell did you not know how to read? How did you not know this?
Well,
And so,
Mhm.
yeah, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's just like no different than that Cosby Show episode with Sammy Davis Jr. You know,
Yeah,
I'm 75 years old. And I don't know how to read. Like, what's going on here?
yeah,
How you gonna
but
be 75?
the really interesting part, one of the things, a few years ago there was that documentary about Freeway Rick Ross on Netflix, and folks finally hearing, he's been kind of a known name in certain circles for a long time, but folks see this, and then you hear in the documentary, oh well, yeah, he didn't learn how to read until he was about 30 years old, and by that time he already got screwed out of whatever he did build, whatever he had from the drug game. And so, again, Black folks revere folks like this, but then you hate actually successful, accomplished Black folks. And then expect these Black folks to, quote, build some magic Wakanda utopia for you. And when they don't, and it becomes about them, then you're this hated quantity.
They want a society that's run by the Nipsey Hussles and the takeoffs from the Migos. That's what they
Yeah.
consider to be success. Still out there trapping, still rolling dice, still out there on the block, but claiming success. It's an insane sort of perspective of masculinity, and it's an insane perspective of success. And I don't know how you challenge this. I don't know how you challenge these guys at this point in 2023. I don't know, because there's still a lot of guys holding on to this sort of ideal, like Killer Mike. He's a rapper. He's also he's supposed to be opening up a black bank. He's supposed to be doing this and doing that. They really believe that being a doctor is a lame, and Takeoff is awesome. So big rest in pieces to him, but no celebration for these brothers like you see on the screen right here. They'll just write this guy off.
It's not even just about being a doctor, Mike. It's really one of these deals where, I don't even expect people to take my route. You don't have to do what I do, but it's just even getting people to do the bare minimum is really difficult.
Yeah,
Getting
but
people to do the most basic of things is really difficult. So I can't even talk to you about, quote, going to medical school or anything else like that if I can't even get you to do the bare minimum.
no, I'm just saying that the doctor is the pinnacle of that level of
Yeah.
success,
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's the pinnacle of that success, but they look at that as something that's not really worthy of celebration. Whereas, name your favorite rapper, man, they'll get right behind him, man. You got guys ready to fist fight over whether or not they knew Biggie or they grew up in, but it's insane, man. I can't take it, man.
Yeah. But that's where we at right now. It's just that you got to be able to be at a point to where you just got to drop all this stuff and move straight to the money. Because, like, listen, you can stop being diplomatic with people the moment you got your money right. You can stop being diplomatic with people. You can stop kissing people's ass. You can stop doing all that stuff. The moment you got your stuff together and you're good at your job, you can really stop playing along with these people that you don't need to be playing along with.
Yeah, I would agree. I would certainly agree in that respect. I just think is, I think part of the problem that I've always had with MLK Day is that it always is this revisionist history in Black America about who he was, and everybody just kind of cherry picks over him for the other 363, 364 days out of the year. They just act like he doesn't exist until this one day.
I mean, but most of these people shouldn't even be celebrating Martin Luther King, though, man. Like, they
I
need like
agree.
their own. They need their own like holiday from like July 4th to like until like summer's over. Like, that's what they need to celebrate,
I
man.
thought
Like, they
that's what
don't need to
Juneteenth
be.
was for.
Maggle Day.
How we
Maggle
doing,
day all
fellas?
day. Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing? Does good. Shout out to MOT, man. I just want to stop. Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, you got some of that?
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, like, I look at my trajectory when I got literally destroyed by Kevin Samuels on Cam. How I literally jumped. I was making what 26,000. Now I'm at 60. It's amazing how damaging someone could say something. You look where you are and where they are. Not that I'm gonna speak ill of the dead. You know what I mean? But it's just amazing. I don't know if
So
y'all
what'd you
agree
do?
with that.
So did you get your CDL, or was you working like in a
I
low wage job and you
yeah.
moved up? So how
what
how
happened
did it
what
work?
happened what happened was I was working in security at the time. And
Okay.
I was also working at like it was a coding job, but I was making $15 an hour at the same time. So I called up, show this is 3 years ago, or about two, I think. And he was like, well, you're not making enough, da 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 da,
No,
pick
no,
your
no. Wait,
struggle,
wait,
whatever.
wait, wait. Let's take Kevin Samuels out of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what?
bump that. But yeah,
Okay,
you're right,
okay,
you're right.
okay. So you was in security. You was doing coding on the side. What did you switch to singularly, and how long did it take you from that for you to make that money?
It took almost less than 2 years, literally.
Less than 2 years.
And then what
So
was I started, I'm doing retail sales right now. I work for one of the major companies. I'm on my way into actually going into an upper position from like the retail sales. I actually reached the supervisor position. I'm actually getting into more of the internal now. So I'm starting to get courted for, different positions than at the retail level,
okay,
from where
that's
I
what's up.
was. Yeah, like I went from a rep quickly to like what they call a key holder, which is basically a supervisor,
Oh,
from
nice,
that point
nice,
on.
nice.
So even listening to you during that time, I was jumping leaps and bounds. I'm also making music on the side, and I play with a band at the same time making side money, while at the same time doing Uber here and there, and Uber Lyft, you eats and things like that to make extra money, while getting myself out of debt as I go. It's just
Yeah, that's what's up,
amazing.
man.
And and I can't lie to you, it was a lonely journey because nobody really believed in me. So I had to do it on my own. I didn't have no girl or nothing like that. Still don't, but I'm doing all right. Or no children, but I look at it like, wow, look at that trajectory. Plus, like, I always keep shooting chat. I had to get away from the manosphere and all that stupid stuff, to get back onto thing. I'm actually possibly thinking about getting my CDL. I had someone else also encourage me to do it, so I'm gonna definitely look into that.
If you're a minority, I know in our state they'll pay for it. They'll pay for all your training and everything.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
like
So,
most, yeah, like most workforce centers will send you to the community college, and they'll get you trained up on it, or else they'll give you like a voucher to go to Roadmasters, and they'll
mhm.
train you for it. Like you have to go to like normally a big city like I know Denver has like their own kind of training program itself.
Set.
That they
Yeah.
send you through the community college of Aurora to actually go through. But yeah, it's like a lot of this stuff. People should start with their workforce center first because
Mhm.
there's a lot of this stuff that's already paid for.
Yeah. And that's a good point because I already, like I said in the chat, I already foresee the future. The retail sales jobs are starting to go. They're
Yeah.
starting to switch up automation, so they're throwing money at us while everyone's going crazy. I mean, I did get a new car. Sorry, that I needed something new. I ended up trading my old one to get a new one, but I needed a better way of travel to get to where I need to go. Um, yeah, I took the opposite. So I'm basically while everyone's complaining, I'm stacking the money. At the same time. And that's one, yeah, I think that's one thing I got from your channel. While people are going crazy, doing this and that, stick to your guns. And I thank you for that advice and just listening to the course at a time, because you've definitely been more encouraging and close to people in my life.
All right, cool, man. Well, good to hear, man. Good to hear,
You
man.
know,
What's good to hear, man. I'm proud of your progress. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it up, man. Cause like the moment you start getting your money together, the moment you start having more time equity, now you see how much time you got to invest in 10,000 different ways you can do stuff. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? But now you could just center on a couple of them, and you could be able to invest in that. Well, let's move on. The black word. Oh, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming up.
Oh,
Hey,
thanks, man.
what's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Oh, we're
Pretty
doing all right,
good.
man. Doing all right.
All right. Can y'all hear me? Am I clear?
All the way.
Oh,
Probably more
okay.
clear than me, but go ahead.
All right. Yeah. Dr. Phoenix, Mike V, Rael, how you doing? But and Deacon David Little, how you doing?
Hey, what's up,
But
man?
Peace, Wacky,
uh,
peace, Wacky.
all right, all right. But as far as the topic is concerned, I'm sure somebody on the panel mentioned that scene from the first season of Boondocks. Oh, when Martin Luther King came back from the dead.
Oh
That
man.
was me. Yeah, I mentioned that. That was
Okay.
the best speech ever. That's a mic drop.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. The creator of that show, Aaron Magruder, was one heck of a genius for not only having creating a great series, but for making that scene. Because in actuality, let's just say if MLK came back from the dead, that's exactly what he would say about the large masses of so-called black people today. That is exactly what he would say. Unfortunately, so when a lot of people speak about MLK Day, they're just being disingenuous about it because a lot of people refuse to actually follow up with the philosophy and the vision that MLK have to actually emancipate black people in America. And also I heard somebody say, I think Mike V or Dr. Phoenix speak about how a lot of people would cherry pick about MLK's legacy and not realize that after he had his dream speech, he became more pro-black and more radical. I'm sure maybe that's what Mike V or Dr. Phoenix or someone was um trying to say. A lot of people forget about that he was actually more about later on, before
He
his
started
death,
doing the real work, man. He
starting doing
started
the
doing the
real
real
work.
work.
He was
Yeah, yeah.
more
The
he was
real work.
more about economic emancipation of black people or economic independence of black people in America, and a lot of people forget that. But I dropped the mic. Let you have it.
All right, cool. We got a couple people join the panel. Rael, you're next, man.
Peace,
Rael.
peace, MOG. Peace to the panel. Peace to the chat. Happy New Year, everybody. I just wanted to read something, just quick, because I think it's very appropriate for this topic. This is from some research I have on um, employee training and development. Um, this is titled investing in training to close the skills gap. The demographic, global, and technological changes are creating a skills gap that presents challenges for companies in the United States and around the world. Also, the current, and this is very important for people to really listen to, the current education to employment system is not preparing students and adults for the 21st century economy. Barriers between business and educational institutions make it difficult for many employees to update the skills and knowledge they need for their current jobs or prepare for jobs in another career. For example, companies are finding that students graduating from four-year degree programs in college and universities don't have the skills or critical thinking that companies need, and technology is changing faster than colleges can prepare students. To cope with the skills gap, we will likely see more companies hiring workers based on the skills they have, not the degrees they hold. Now, if you are like us Gen Xers, and Boomers too, one thing you will know is that many of us have experienced something called you have too much experience. You're overqualified.
Yeah, that nonsense.
And that was that was something that was used primarily against Black people, especially in the 90s, early 2000s, to keep Black people from getting certain jobs. Well, they no longer can do those types of things because the competition for talent is so fierce that losing losing one key employee in your company in this day and age can effectively get your company shut down. And so I read that to say that this is one of the best times for Black men to get in the game, because it's almost like there's so much stuff that's going on that's so goofy. It's like you can kind of sneak in almost, you know. And a lot of Black men need to really take advantage of the opportunities, instead of looking at what's wrong with the system all the time. A lot of Black men need to look at what can go right or what can be used to be right for you in the system. We've had enough people who analyze and analyze and analyze and be in a state of analysis of paralysis, but don't do anything. There's a lot of things in this American system. I mean, people risk their lives on rickety boats, drowning in the water in the ocean trying to get to this place. So, what are they seeing in America that we're not seeing when we have had so many great men go before us, like my great grandfather, MOT's grandfather, and so many men who grew up in worse conditions than we have, who did a lot, who set a foundation and a legacy from which we still draw from this very day. I could still go to one of the houses my great grandfather built to this very day. That means something to me because it shows what an elder who actually did some work put in for our family. And so we need to continue that trajectory. We have a lot of men, a lot of great Black men who set a foundation and a blueprint that we can draw from instead of just looking at the failures. I always say this, especially when it comes to your family. You don't have to inherit the failures of your parents. And just like you don't have to inherit the failure of your own parents, man, you don't have to inherit the failures of Black people who won't use things in this system to help them and their families get on a better footing. So
Oh no.
just use what's in the system to help advance you and yours. And if it starts with you, if you the first generation that get it right, then just be the first. Just be the first one of your generation, the first one of your family to get it right.
Hey, I mean, I was first one to go to school, first one to graduate college, first one to get an MBA, first one to all that stuff. And I never brought it up. I just kept going. I just gave the best answers to the youth who wanted to listen at those, family barbecues or family functions. That's why I go. I go talk to them, pull them to the side. You can correct this stuff. It really doesn't take that much. Boom. You out of there. They can go do whatever they want to. And they can still know that in the back of their mind, they're still going to be ahead of their parents. All they got to do is follow simple ass advice, man. Yeah, what's going on? Line of MGTOW, what's going on, man?
What's up, brother? Yeah, enjoying my evening, pretty much finishing up my afternoon route. Yeah, it's MLK Day, and yeah, MLK is one of my favorite Black historical figures, and along with Booker T. Washington, for the usual reasons. And I agree with everything that you're saying. Everything.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't want to give credit to what this dude actually gave his life up for. JR, thanks for the 4.99 super chat. Like a lot of people don't want to acknowledge the fact that this dude really. Wait, hold on a second. Somebody got some background noise. Hey, everybody mute up unless you're talking. All right. So what we'll do is.
I think it's low. I think it's LOM's got the background noise.
Yeah. LOM.
Oh, sorry. I'm at a job site. Hold on. Sorry.
I mean, just mute up. We're good. Yeah. So it's just like you have to understand, man, that not a lot of people in society is going to sacrifice something that you're going to notice that you got something out of. A lot of people got something out of MLK's existence. I mean, a lot of stuff was done, and you can't just discount that. like a lot of people discount it because they wanted him to do the complete job that's actually their responsibility. Sometimes, man, you just have a better start than other people got, and you got to be able to move with that, man.
Now that's the thing right there. MOT is some people feel like because really it's the same mentality you hear from a lot of these people when you hear politics. Like they'll say like, oh well, Democrats aren't doing this, and this, and complain, and it's like dude, you gotta know with a politician, like of what they promise they can do, you gotta probably cut that down 75% and know it's probably a fourth. Because at the end of the day, like nobody gets everything that they want. I mean, it took Republicans what 40 damn near 50 years to repeal Roe v. Wade. They still can't
39
repeal.
years.
They,
39
they
years.
they still haven't repealed Obamacare. I mean, these things aren't just hey, I vote for this person one time and everything's fixed. But that's the mentality that a lot of people have. The other thing I quickly wanted to add too is to your point where you were talking about your family and sitting down talking with these people. The other thing that's important with that is just the cultural capital, the generational capital you're going to build in the sense of once you're the first to go through the process, the next generation already has a leg up because they have someone who's already been through it, knows where all the landmines are, knows where all, hey, this is what you can do better. It literally creates a generational past. So if someone in their family has not done it, be the first, and then you will increase the likelihood of people behind you doing it.
Well, the thing is, I was on a stream last week, and it was one of the most enlightening streams that I've ever been on, and because it just really illuminated how much black males in these spaces, they're just like the females they're complaining about. All they do is just focus on problems to the point like, dude asked me, like, do I go and look for things, basically, I'm paraphrasing, look for things in the system to make it hard for you to be successful? And I was just like,
What?
why would I do that? Like why? Like, why would I do that? And so it was just like, and he was coming with all this pro-black energy. And so I asked him, I said, because he was using this word empathy a lot. Because, black people think empathy means having a YouTube channel and covering every story that we see on the news of some black person getting caught up in some shit. They think that's empathy. So, and I said, well, if you're so empathetic, I said, where's your nonprofit to address the low reading capabilities of black boys since you're so empathetic? And the dude couldn't say anything. And I'm just like, he didn't even understand civic engagement. Like the thing is, like, what you realize when you're in business, like there are tons of people who donate their money, like literally money that they make for business, to charity. So to address ills in society. So if it's cancer research, if that's their cause, they'll put money towards that. And I was like, there's literally billions of dollars in the nonprofit sector that you could be writing grants for, and that's why I'm real skeptical. I've been real skeptical from the beginning when in terms of these PhDs coming into the space, because I'm like, y'all literally are in the halls of academia where you can literally use the platform of your schools to write grants, because colleges are never turning down money. So
Ever.
and the research that you do for these schools, it elevates the prestige of the college you're at. So instead of a YouTube channel, or you could use it in conjunction with it, where are the grants that they're writing for the organizations that they should have? And if I'm not seeing that, I'm really not really trying to hear dudes talking about that they're empathetic about the plight of black boys and all of these type of things. When you don't have any action behind what you're saying, it's just rhetoric for the YouTube streets. But really, you don't really care about black boys, because He didn't even. I mean, this was a grown man. Like, this dude in his 40s. He didn't even understand what civic engagement is. Like, dude, you got to be informed. Like, you can't just be out here, flying off the handle just because somebody disagrees with your position. You don't really even know what you're talking about. Because I'm like, you could easily set up your nonprofit and write you some grants to address some ill in society. I mean, you can't address it all, but you could do something. And the sad thing is like a lot of these dudes, they're not doing anything. They're doing a lot of talking, but they have no desire to build the actual institutional framework to actually make the impacts that really needs to be made. But that's only going to come from actually doing the damn work.
Oh no, Rael, to your point, and then if you're in academia, you also have access to the expertise. Because there's a guy I went to undergrad with. He went to Harvard Business School. After he got his MBA, he did a little bit of work, and now what he's trying to do, he's actually trying to buy a company, like shift into start his own private equity company, and look at a company to buy. And everybody who's on the board of his company are literally academics from like Harvard or other colleges that he's met through his networking, things like that, to basically help him run his company. So that's what they're turning down as well. It's not just money and grants, but actually expertise that could give you a lot of legitimacy when you go out here and move in the right way.
But that's the thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Wackerall.
Oh, thank you. But the thing is, Rael, is that these individuals never had the intention to help anyone. Their intent is to go online and, excuse my language, intellectually masturbate in exchange for capital in the form of cash apps. That was their intention. These individuals are not as intelligent or as caring about the masses of black people as they claim they are, because they have no desire to do any work. And like Rael said, I'm paraphrasing. If you really want to help so-called black people, you have to go out in the world and put your boots on and do the actual work to actually help improve the conditions that your people face, if that's your intention. That's all I have to say.
Correct. Anyone's next?
No, I think Wacky hit the nail on the head. These people were here for one reason only. Like I said, to basically, like you said, raise capital, and raise capital and use it for whatever. Not like raise capital, actually go, create a return on investment somewhere.
Well, I don't know if anybody is familiar with the TV show The Punisher that was on Netflix. I love this show. The first season,
great show, awesome show.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. The first season, there was a group that this black dude had set up for veterans who were coming out the military, and it was this younger vet who kept being egged on by this older vet, technically, and so he kept him in this enraged state. And so one day they decided to go to the courthouse and protest. And the older cat was behind the younger dude. And what he ended up doing was, when he came up there, one of the police officers came up to the young dude because the older dude was behind him. And the older dude, when he saw the cop come, he knew like some trouble, like some shit was about to hit the fan. So he kind of started backing away. But the young dude didn't know he was backing up. So he was like, no, I'm here to, express my rights. And you can't tell me what I can't do, blah, blah, blah. And the cop was like, look, I'm giving you a warning now. You're going to have to get off, the government steps like that. He's like, no. Next thing you know, he hems the dude up, cuffs him. The older cat, he skates off. Now, in the counseling sessions, people were talking about problems. This older dude kept making it seem like he had served in Vietnam and he had saw battlefield and saw his friends dying. Man, this dude was like a cook. He didn't see no combat.
That's where it always is, man.
He didn't see any type of combat whatsoever. And that's a lot of these dudes in these spaces. A lot of these dudes do a lot of complaining. They never stepped off the front porch of their mama house. They never got out here and got in the trenches and really hit the game and put some stuff on the line and lost it and had to recover. You know what I'm saying? Like, but a lot of times they're speaking pain through other people's experience who actually went out there and got, who put it on the line and got caught up on some, not necessarily caught up, but felt the pain of actually investing in themselves. And so you got to be very careful who you listening to, man, because any fool can get on this megaphone on YouTube and get to talking. But a lot of these dudes really ain't got no skin in the game. The ultimate investment is an investment in yourself. And a lot of these dudes will not invest in themselves. They will invest in your misery just to get your money, but they won't invest in themselves because there's nothing there. It's an empty shell. And I really thought that Punisher show, it really was a microcosm of really what we experience in the space with a lot of these dudes. They don't have any skin in the game. They don't understand a lot of the stuff that we're talking about when we're talking about business and, contracting with people, and you understanding that when you contract with people, you are actually giving up certain rights to be able
That's why I stay like a sponge, especially around older people. I'm not quick to snap back at them and tell them what they don't know. You never know what they know that you can help you. Not all the time, but then you still got some old fool, like MOT says, you still got some old fools out there, though.
You got to make sure they're an elder instead of an older person, because there's a difference.
That or who they know as well, what they know or who they know that they can put you in contact with. That's the
network. Mm-hmm. It's a big difference. Big difference. It's a big difference. I just got to be careful, man. Like, getting you triggered, man. Getting you triggered, it puts you in a vulnerable state. Keeping you angry, that's really when you're at your weakest. There's a such thing as constructive anger to get you to move to a certain purpose. But when you're just constantly enraged just for enraged sake, that's not really a good place to be, because people can emotionally manipulate you when they got you angry. And that's what a lot of these do.
Yep. They do what they call your face plant.
That or you got dudes who snap, who just, they just, for whatever reason, either go off the deep end or they let their emotions get the best of them in a small second, and it's over. I don't know if y'all saw that there's a basketball player who was at the University of Alabama. I think he had a friend that he was from Maryland, and he had a friend that I guess the friend came down to see him. And like from what I'm reading with the story, it looks like the friend ended up shooting this girl because they got into a conflict, and there was literally a video going on Twitter. The cops basically coming to his house and arresting him on capital murder charges. And I'm just like, dude, how do you go from being, like I said, a ball player on scholarship on a D1 team to like facing capital murder charges? It's just like, but it's the people around you, and it's yourself and the people you surround yourself with. Because like I said, I don't know what the conflict was, but I can tell you it wasn't worth going to jail for however long, or like possibly even the death penalty that you're going to face in this situation. But dudes can't keep their emotions in check.
It goes back to what Booker T. Washington was saying. You only as good as the company you keep. Yeah. You only as good as the company you keep.
And that's true facts right there, man. I had to learn that myself, especially going in these streams sometimes and stuff like that. A lot of what they have going on can rub off on you after a while. You begin to think and talk like them, and then you're like, wow, what the heck? I don't even sound like myself anymore.
Oh,
Making crazy. You begin to think like them, to pumping that into your head. they're pumping their disparity. Like there was a couple of guys I had to cut off cold turkey. I had to go away for a while because that was, interfering with my daily life. Because like they say about the whole women piece, as a retail salesperson, I gotta deal with women constantly and work with them. So that's not a good, mindset to be at. I'll speak to that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to Malcolm X, rest in peace to him. May peace be upon him. One of the things I respect the most about Malcolm is the fact that he came back and owned the damage that he did. A lot of people don't know he did that. Malcolm admitted that he taught a lot of hate, and he said he was going to spend the rest of his life trying to undo the damage that he did. He even said that when that white chick came to meet him, because she came from the South, she had money too. When she came, she traveled all the way from the deep South to Harlem to meet Malcolm. She was so captivated by Malcolm, she wanted to help. And he said that was one of the worst mistakes he ever made, was just turning her down the way he did.
Yeah.
So he recognized that he had erred, and Malcolm was 39 too. So he was still young. Him and King were 39 when they were killed. So he didn't get that full chance to really fully evolve, and so but he recognized that he had did some damage, and he put a lot of his credibility online defending Elijah Muhammad, only to be left out there in the cold, really with no support. So brothers really need to be around those type of men who, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong place.
Yep.
Don't be the type of black man that thinks you can't take leadership from another black man that's more competent. Like, we really have to get away from this nonsense that we'll take instruction from some white dudes, but we don't want to take instructions from a black dude because we don't want that nigga to think he better than me. And we got to, as a collective, we got to really get away from that, because I think that's really one of our biggest problems. I think that's really what keeps a lot of us actually from working together more as a collective, is the unwillingness to follow a more competent black man. And in business, man, sometimes, man, you got to take a step back, man, to really take some steps forward. And it's okay. It doesn't make you less than a man than to follow, a more competent black man, because thinking like that is the same kind of thinking that a lot of these females have, who don't want to follow productive men who can lead them in the right direction. So in terms of brotherhood, your brotherhood is about leading you in the right direction. Your brotherhood is not going to let you fall off a cliff like that. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you get around actually true brothers. Do business with them. Your circle. If you can't do business with your friends, you don't have the right friends.
Now you're right, Ryle, because I was going to say to your point on that with the leadership thing. Really, people don't even understand with leadership, like, it's not even a one-way street in the sense, because if you are following, that person may be better in the sense of they may be more competent, they see the big picture better, they have a vision. But a lot of times when you start getting to that level, those people have to lean on their subordinates for the expertise. So from what I've seen, like, when you start talking about following someone more competent, a lot of times I think brothers think that they think this dude is just necessarily better than me and everything. It's like, no, you may be, leadership is in the sense of, hey, you need to listen to this guy in the sense of he's the coach. You may be the better ball player, you may have all the athletics, all the jump shot and all that, but he understands the scheme. He understands what the defense is trying to do, what the offense needs to do. He understands the strategy. And that's what people got to understand about sort of the give and take of what leadership really is understanding how the pieces go together. And to your point on, like, just the people you're around, I'm actually reading a book right now called The Psychology of Money. And one of the things it talked about was that people don't even realize how much you're influenced by your circle just on your spending habits. If you're like, it even says like, if you live in a, like, your neighborhood is going to dictate how much money you spend. Just because if you live in a neighborhood like where people are driving, you know, really, really fancy cars and things like that, like, you're going to get sucked into that. And like, there's data that actually shows it. So like, people don't realize it, but that's just how powerful the people you're around, how much they can affect your behavior, and your spending, and what you value, and the direction you go in your life.
Okay, we got two new people up here. Yuri, what's going on, man? Then we'll go to Chuck Wu. All right, what's going
What's
on?
up,
How are
MOT?
you? What's going on, man?
Happy MLK Day to everybody, bro. You know, just wanted to say that first off, and like going back to everything that everybody was saying, man. I mean, all I want to say is the information's out there to hit this right once and never have to go back. I mean, I think Ryle was saying something like, you know, sometimes you got to be the first guy to get out, and once you get out, then it's easier for everybody else to come out with you because you'll be able to get them there. And you know, going back to what we were talking about earlier, somebody was talking about Job Corps. Like, all the information's out there, and most of it's out there in workforce development and all this other kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's all there. Uh, I don't want to say too much, but if this holiday means something, let's make it mean something by basically making sure everybody's papered up right. That's all.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, because to be perfectly honest with you, these BS holidays, whatever they are, whether it's one or the other, they come and go. But really, what matters is getting to the other side of the financial side. You know what I mean? And the other thing is, I'm gonna say this: a lot of these dudes that are BS pro-black dudes that really don't understand anything about finances, they're not pro-black. They're anti-black agents. Pro-black people are pro-black and they're financially pro-black on top of that. So that's what I'm going to say about all these, you know, wolves in sheep's clothing to do all this dumb shit. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all.
All right, cool, man. All right, have a nice one. Chuck Wu.
Hey, happy MLK Day, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Am I coming through all right?
You are. You're coming through good. I can hear
All right. All right. And what I wanted to add is that I think that the Martin Luther King civil rights strategy did not fulfill its aim of economic equality for Black people. Um, my parents both went to Tuskegee, founded by Booker T. Washington. And in the 20s and 30s, he had a civil rights strategy that was centered around Booker T. Washington, that is centered around Black people getting, uh, developing skills and developing personal capital and achieving economic equality through skill development and education and entrepreneurship, owning businesses and things like that. But there was a shift in the civil rights strategy with W.E.B. Du Bois and Martin Luther King. It shifted more to a political power strategy. So it shifted from skill development and economic power to political power. The idea being that, you know, if you register more Black people to vote and elect more Black people into office, then, you know, we can politically elevate ourselves using the political process. But it seems like after, you know, 2 terms of Obama, Black people economically haven't really made the advances that you would have expected. So I think that
Yeah,
we
but
need
those
to.
are individuals who haven't made it versus people who invested in themselves as a group
Right.
did make it. Like MLK's job wasn't to lead people to college. MLK's job was to make sure people had the equal opportunity to go to college if they wanted to go. Like I think we put too much on these actual individuals to do things that quite naturally that they're not even cut out for. Like a
Hmm.
lot of this stuff is a pure motivational effort from the individual itself, who's not making it.
Agreed.
Like yeah,
Oh,
it's just that. Oh, go ahead, go
no,
ahead.
I was gonna say the thing is, like, I think Martin Luther King would agree in the sense that he didn't, reach all his goals because he was killed. And a lot of people don't know this, but if you go on the internet and type in Martin Luther King check, in one of the last, not I don't know if it's the last, but I want to say it's around 1967. He says, "Hey, we're coming to Washington D.C. to get our check." And he was doing that in the Poor People's Campaign, and that's right before he's killed in Memphis marching with sanitation workers. So,
Right, right.
like initially, yeah, there was an emphasis on rights and what political representation, because you are going to need that form of power if you want to maintain an economic base. It was just people literally got killed. I mean that derailed the whole movement, in the sense of people went in different factions, split off, and just you really had you had the crack era that happened in the Black community, you had deindustrialization, you had the Vietnam War, you had all these things that just kind of came together and derailed the movement. But nah, I mean, I don't think he would even argue that he was where he wanted to end. He was killed, unfortunately.
But
But don't you
but
think it would have been? Sorry.
let,
Do you
let me
think it
say
would have been
something.
a
Wait,
more
wait, wait, wait,
effective
wait, wait.
strategy?
Let him finish. Wacky, go ahead, sir. Chuck will.
No, I was just saying, don't you think it would have been a more effective strategy for Black people individually and as a group to develop skills that directly could give us economic power before seizing political power? This is the route that other groups have taken, such as the Irish immigrants and the Jewish immigrants, Chinese immigrants. They build economic power first before seizing political power. And then it seems like if you get the economics in order first and then do politics, you have you elevate a lot faster than if you try to use political, voting people into office as a route of economic advancement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't disagree with you.
Mhm.
Listen, I don't disagree with you at all. I think that is a great thing. It's just that that's why I'm glad my grandfather kind of socialized me into it in ways that he couldn't even do with his own children. But he made
Mm.
sure that I understood it, because it was a failure of, he had to see that everything that he did, it didn't really stick because they got the productivity piece right, but they wasn't doing the voting thing or any of that other stuff. So then
Mm.
he had to make sure that whenever came around, you knew how important the voting thing kind of was, and it's like this has to be an individual socialized process, and this is why I say, like, for us, it shouldn't be no excuses of how come we're not taking the maximum advantage of things that are going on here.
Facts.
Like
I think you got to
like I
do both.
was like I
Oh,
oh
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
I'm
Like
sorry.
like what I was going to say is that when you look up the Civil Rights Act of 1964, to sum it up, what it does is that it makes it harder for people to be held from opportunities based on bias, and make it easier for people to move up in the system based upon merit. Thus, a person can thus it makes it easier for people to gain economic power as well as political power. So the thing is, with the strategy of the Civil Rights Act, if individuals knew how to, well, I mean the civil rights movement, if individuals knew how to actually utilize the act in order to gain more economic power, then it would not have been a failure of economic power. But certain things is based on the decisions of individuals, like MOT was pointing out. Well, that's all I have to say. I got
Well, we have to keep in mind too that um and this is why getting a true historical analysis of what actually happened is really important, because when we start talking about blacks and black people and black men specifically for this conversation, when we talk about the great giants like Garvey and Booker T. Washington and other black men who had a capitalist mindset. Many of these men were undermined by black men. Okay, and so to the point that you had a group of black intelligentsia who literally went to the Attorney General of the United States and literally asked them to lock Marcus Garvey up, and ultimately succeeded. They literally had a movement called Garvey Must Go. So when you start talking about, this is why I don't really like we got to support brothers conversation, because every black man ain't your brother. And so we really have to really flesh out the people who were really against the black male business class, because I think that beneath a lot of this rhetoric that we hear from a lot of these intellectuals and pseudo-intellectuals, corner store philosophers, I think beneath a lot of the rhetoric that they have is a deep-seated hatred, envy, jealousy of the actual productive men in the group. Because if you take the productive black men, and there has not been a man in the United States that has been more productive than a black man in slavery and out of it. You can't put no other man against us. Okay? The only reason why we're not as powerful as we could have been is more political, not because we're lazy. But if you put us in any other group, if you put our productivity in any other group, we probably beat every man on the planet in any other groups. If you put our productivity for the past 400 years in any other group, we built a nation. Okay, we literally built one here.
And a lot of it is hidden in history too, Ryle, that we don't even know about.
Right. So you got to really understand. We have to really understand the kind of hate that people like Booker T and Garvey were getting from the intellectual class of black people. A lot of those people did not like the black press, did not like those kinds of men, because for the very reason why we're not like now. Because if we become the voice, if we become the standard, the lazy motherfuckers who don't do anything are going to have to get in line, and they're going to have to listen to us. So what they do is they play this, it's a real cat and mouse game of intellectual class warfare, but they use the poor masses of black people as a wedge against the productive men. And then they try to call your black card out when you challenge the people who are not stepping up to the plate by saying, oh, you trying to be white, or you trying to do respectability politics. And it's like, no, we're talking about being productive. Because in any other groups of people in the world, the productive men are respected. They are respectable. So this has nothing to do with trying to be white. Being productive is not a white thing. It's a masculine thing. So we have to really understand what's really at play when we're having these back and forth. This goes back to the days of DuBois, Garvey, Booker T, and it's something that we just have not settled. We have to settle this shit one way or the other. We are going to have to settle this once and for all, because it's really keeping back a lot of productivity that can be done in terms of building institutions. Because we would rather not have to have these conversations. We would rather be the time that we spend having these conversations trying to make sure the younger generations of dudes don't get caught up. We would rather be taking that time molding, guiding the younger generation that's going to come after us. We would rather be guiding them, because ultimately they're supposed to be better than us. Every generation is supposed to be better than the previous one. But unfortunately, we got previous generations of people, particularly boomer class, who do not want the next following generations to be better than them. And that's a serious problem.
Yeah, I mean, but we have this inverted pyramid thing going on that we now know is a threat and a danger to everybody. I wouldn't blame boomers, because you got Generation X, Generation Z, Alpha, all these people who are doing the exact same thing. Now it's an individual outcome based thing. All the answers are out there now. So if you're practicing this stuff at a level that you don't need to be doing, then you just become the problem all onto yourself. Like I'm not even worried about half of these people. Like most of these people already made their choice and their decision about where they're going to move and how they're going to move. I'm just saying, look, this guy gave his life so that way we can have these chances that we have right now. A lot of these people were like throwing this dude under the bus because he wasn't working fast enough for them, quote unquote. Let me get to this $2 super chat from the sneak. Dr. Claude Anderson has a perfect, 5-step plan. He does have a perfect 5-step plan, but he cannot, for the life of me, separate from these Maggle class dudes and these entertainers long enough to just have a straightforward track record of never dealing with these people to
That's why I
even
like
just be overall
Amos Wilson.
effective.
That's why I like Amos Wilson better. Amos Wilson, he specifically said that the hardest group of people he had to try to work with were the conscious people. He said because the conscious people don't want to do no work. That's what he said. Amos Wilson been called these dudes out a long time ago. It's just that nobody is really listening because people get caught up in the aesthetics of pro-blackism, the fiery rhetoric and
the dashiki and the clothing,
stuff like that. But like I told a dude on the panel I was on a couple weeks ago, I said, opening a bank can be a form of black nationalism too.
Let me say this, like, to give some examples of what I was talking about, what I stated prior. I mean, a lot of people know about Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but of course, some of you may know that there were also predominantly black business districts all over the country, especially one in Durham, North Carolina, and then one in Richmond, Virginia. Now, and I think those were also considered by some scholars to also be Black Wall Streets also. But what happened with those other black business districts, especially the one in North Carolina and Virginia, is that the moment the Civil Rights Act was passed, a lot of the blacks within these communities looked at that as saying, "Oh, now we can shop in white-owned establishments." So therefore, the former black customers and support that these black businesses had went down the gutter and went out of business because they lost their support. And that's mainly due to, in my opinion, a lot of people at that time misunderstanding what the Civil Rights Act was all about. Yes, it was about equality, but it was also, like I said before, about black people and other groups of people being able to move up in the system through merit, or making it easier for their merit to help them move up within the system and have opportunities. So therefore, if black people at the time looked at it through those lenses, they, a lot of businesses at that time could have used that as opportunities to get more contracts. I'm not saying they haven't, but could have, and so forth. But a lot of the masses of black people at the time, according to what I've read, utilized the Civil Rights Act or the post-civil rights movement to say, now we're more accepted in white-owned establishments and we can support them now. Thus, the black-owned establishments lost their support and went out of business. So when it comes to the economic growth of so-called black people, it's different factors that came into play.
No, I
agree
with that.
One thing that's important to understand too is that the addition of Title VII into the 1964, I believe, Voting Rights Act, it completely changed the outcome of the distribution of things like affirmative action, and because feminists fought for gender or sex to be added in Title VII, and the effect that had was that white women would now benefit from affirmative action in a way that took it away from black men and black women. So they were the primary beneficiaries of things like affirmative action and getting into to college and university, that the addition of Title VII shifted and redistributed the benefits of the Civil Rights Act from Black people to white women. So that's another thing that people don't really pay attention to. But that this political game is something that other people are playing. The enemy gets a vote, and this is why I think that this political strategy is not a winning strategy. I think we should focus on economics because there's other players in the political arena that have their own interests. So I think the shift should go toward economics and away from politics in the short term before we can build up our economic wealth and then do politics.
Yeah, certainly. And it's like you've got to have a level of buy-in, personally buy-in economic before you just allow people to be a part of anything. That's where I think where we got it wrong. Like,
Absolutely.
like for me, I don't want to hear this brotherhood shit until you have accomplished or done something with your life.
Not, I was going to say too, MOT, on what people were talking about was now the I think you need both in the sense of you needed both economic empowerment and you needed equality before the law, because the purpose of equality before the law and civil rights in the context is, hey, if you have, say, a dispute with someone who's white and you're Black, if you're doing that under Jim Crow and those that structure, like, you're done no matter what your merits are, versus if you have some the point of the civil rights and equality before the law was just that if you have some sort of dispute or you need to go to court or something like that, or a contract or something, that it has to be recognized before the law. And what you'll hear a lot of these people who are pro-Black, what they'll go and do, they'll, like you said, we said earlier, they'll go say, oh, well, this was about dudes wanting to interracially date or something like that, just because going back to the lack of business acumen amongst these people, of not understanding of, if you don't have recognition of before the law, or hey, if you're so unprotected that someone can just, and you don't have legal standing in your legislature and whatever business you're in, the people who are in power can just change laws that basically force you to go out of business or destroy your business, then you're not going to be able to be economically empowered. That's what it was really about.
Yeah, but then again, they always have a way of refocusing the conversation on something that don't matter every time. But it's just that it's a new age, and you just got to require substance out of people. That's all. Because the people who don't have substance, they have to hold the conversation hostage around very small issues that's normally around relationship or keeping a whole bunch of nonsense going. Complex, what's going on, man?
Hey, MOT, what's going on, brother? Peace to the panel, the chat. Happy MLK Day. I think this conversation is honoring him. So I want to salute to y'all for really dropping it. I've been listening in while I've been working and doing some stuff. I had to drop my truck off at the shop, so I've been listening in. I guess I have a little bit of a reputation for this, but I'm kind of like how long do things have to exist before Black folks, Black men specifically, get a fucking clue, right? We're speaking about MLK. Malcolm's come up in the conversation. I think Garvey came up in the conversation too. Booker T came up in the conversation. These are our predecessors who, like, if we're talking Booker T, over 100 years ago, okay? And we can proceed all the way on up to Malcolm and Martin. And what we find today in Black culture is that it's always, well, this happened, well, this happened, well, this happened, and then there was this title, and it was this, and I'm like, okay, it is 2023. Okay, now what? I mean, Martin he was in action, Malcolm in action, Booker T in action, Marcus in action, right? No action though. That it's this cultural paralysis analysis. I think I heard Ryle reference to earlier, and that's why for people like me, or I'll speak for myself, my patience is super fucking thin when it comes to Black men and their inactivity. I literally have zero patience. I mean, if you know all of this, if you know the history, if you know the details, you know the particulars, then guess what? You know a way forward.
Yeah, but a lot of people just refuse to go because they can't get started, and the only thing they can do is hold the conversation hostage by deliberately looping it in concentric circles, so that way there can't be any progress at all, which is their actual overall goal anyway. But let me be. You got any last word? Because I got to get back to the road, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, that's it. I just wanted to chime in real quick, man. I've been listening the whole time. I was just grinding. But hey, dope build as usual.
All right,
Have a
cool,
good one,
man.
man.
What's up, Complex?
All
What's
right.
going on, y'all?
Any last words before you leave off out of here, Complex?
No, he's
Guess
not.
not. David Dick, a little man. Any last words before we get up out of here, man?
Definitely appreciate having me on the panel, Muti. All you fellas, man, thank you for being a great inspiration to me for 2023, and for all the people who are listening in. Y'all guys have a great weekend and weekday as well, productive as well.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for having on, Dr. Diva Little. Rael, got a last word before we get out here?
Thanks for having me up. Peace to the panel in the chat. Rest in peace to those who were not able to see 2023. It's a new day, and black men, you're in some of the best times you would ever be in America. Just don't squander this opportunity by listening to people who don't have a plan to do shit. All I got to say.
I agree, man. Thanks for coming on, man. Renaissance man. Anything else before we get up out here?
Nah, nice stream. Thanks for letting me come up, and happy Martin Luther King Day. And like I said, just always remember the sacrifices of the elders. And like Raul said, don't squander the opportunity that we have in front of us.
Same here, man. Like I like man, it means a lot, man, to be here, to have these opportunities, to raise up out of the situation, to be a part of things that I was part of in my life, man. Like none of this stuff would be possible without other people way older than me. And once I went to the military, some of the best people I met was the people that I went when I first got on the ground. Some of those old the older people from Vietnam who were the last people to get in, but kind of stayed in 20, 25 years. Like that's what the older men that I had to deal with when I went in. They made sure that you had your mind right. They didn't care about trying to make you a career soldier. They wanted to make sure that there was that you were straight. And the men that I met after that, they just wasn't up to snuff, man. So I thank them dudes for that. So, Iori, you got any last words before we get up out of here, man?
Nah, bro. Just what everybody said. Basically, put it into great words. Just make it happen, bro. Like we're in 2023. We know what we're supposed to do. Like the stuff that we need in terms of where to go get what we need. Like I said, in workforce development and all these other places, Udemy. If you want to go learn a new language, you can go learn it in Preply. Like go build yourself an all-star team of people that are going to skill you up. That's it. After that,
yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's time, man. And the people who don't want to do so, man, you gotta leave them alone, man. Yeah. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for coming through on this Martin Luther King birthday day.
Hold up.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Wack Word. What am I doing, man? I'm trying to close you out, man.
nah, you good. You good. But I would to echo some of the things that that Complex Design and Rael was saying on the panel, and even Iori, is that listen, it's 2023 of the Gregorian calendar. The so-called black male in the Western Hemisphere need to stop trying to create this boogeyman theory about somebody's trying to stop them from progress. And if there is someone that's attempting to stop them from progress, then learn from MLK's example and fight it. And fight it until the death. That's it. But what people like MLK, Medgar Evers, the original Black Panther Party, Malcolm X, and etc., the foundation that they have laid down have made things a little easier for our people in today's society. For that, the boogeyman would have, the quote-unquote boogeyman would have less of a stronghold on your progress. Okay, so listen, we got to stop creating this boogeyman theory. And if you're just a lazy mf'er, just admit it. All right. So what? So MOT, thank you for a good build. Thank you for a good stream. This was an excellent panel. You guys have a great day. I'm out.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. I want to thank everybody else for being a part of the stream for the hours that they've been here. Boy, that was hot. Man, that jalapeno was crazy fire. But I want to thank you guys for coming through. You guys have a really nice rest of y'all day. Peace.